Welcome to the
Hi.
Coparenting Collective. I
Thank
am so glad you're here. I've wanted to talk to you and have a conversation with you for so long because I admire many of the things that you do with your sons and just as a person. But I'll make the introductions first so so everybody can follow along with this conversation who hasn't seen your account. My guest today is Aaron Dale, and he lives in London. He is the father of two boys, two different relationships, and he calls that double co-parenting, which we've decided that's a term. Okay, don't
It's
anybody come
official.
for us.
Yeah.
That's official. It's official. His sons are 13 and 7. He lives in London, like I said. He's a personal trainer and he mentors boys ages 15 plus through fitness, right?
Yeah.
And also like goal setting and life stuff.
Life skills. Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
skills, yes.
Yeah.
And then he also has a YouTube channel, which is basically all the co-parenting. You aren't putting mentor stuff. So that's all co-parenting. You can find him on YouTube
Yeah.
under Raising Boys to Men, which is awesome. Is that a play on Boys to Men?
I'm the biggest Boys to Men fan
Are
ever.
you? I was too. I'm like, I wonder if that's a play on Boys to Men. And then I see I see your stories and your music, and I'm like, I bet it is, and I'm gonna ask him.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was a name. I threw a few different names out to a few friends, and I threw that one in there, and I had no idea that everyone would actually choose that. I just thought, oh, they'd brush it off, but it's a stick, and it made sense. So
yeah, and it's easy to remember. And then if you're a fan,
yeah,
it's like you got a
win-win.
little double entendre there. The question is, do you play Boys for Men? Do you play the old school stuff for the boys that you mentor?
Yeah,
Do you?
not for the ones I mentor, for my own kids.
Oh,
Yeah, fully. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do that, don't we? We play our own music for our kids, and
Yeah, they have to like it. They've got no
they have
choice.
to, or else we disown them. That's what I say. I'm like,
There
you
we
can like
go.
my music or you disown, go find yourself a partner. No. I'm kidding. And so last part of the introductions is Aaron is the Coparenting Collective ambassador, which basically means, if you haven't figured it out by now, that he welcomes the opportunity to answer questions and share his perspectives and help other moms and dads, not just dads, with their co-parenting. So welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you for
Now,
having me.
you're welcome. All right. My first question is, with the two boys and two separate relationships, what does your schedule look like?
In terms of having them,
Yes. How
yeah.
do they separate, or do you have essentially them on the same schedule when they go to their moms?
Yeah, so obviously Amari's the eldest. So my schedule with Amari was always every other weekend from Friday to Sunday. So it would be one weekend with me, one weekend with his mum, although she would have him in between. And if at any point I wanted to see him at any time around that, that would be fine. It's just that was our agreed schedule that would not change. And then Tyler came along, and it was a bit more difficult to fit him into that because his mum wanted something different at first, which was understandable. But yeah, we came to terms, and it's every other weekend.
How old was, because there's that 6-year difference.
Yeah.
So Omari was already, what, 6 or 7?
Amari was 6, just about to turn 7 when Tyler was born.
Okay.
So the co-parenting with Tyler didn't really start until Tyler was 1.5. So yeah, originally it was just obviously me and Amari, and then Tyler kind of came into that mix in terms of co-parenting, probably when Amari was 8.
Okay. And then, but with Tyler, because he obviously had his brother, and then that relationship was important to, connect them and get that relationship going as brothers. So, at 1.5, I'm sure he spent a lot more time with mom when he was younger. Is there court orders, or you guys both with both brothers? This makes sense for our.
It's just an agreement. Yeah, thankfully, we've been able to just have conversations and communicate. because I would never want it to go down that path where we're dictated to, it has to be this way. And I've come from, so I was raised by just my mum, and my dad has 3 children with another woman. So I have 3 sisters, and we don't talk, there's no communication. The relationship's been very bad. And I've always said, it's so important for me that Amari and Tyler's relationship is strong, even though they're not full brothers, so to speak. To them, they're fully connected, and that's vital to me. That they don't see themselves as half brothers or half siblings.
Anything,
They're just brothers.
Yeah, and I agree with you because I have a similar situation. So I have a son who's much older. I mean, he's 23 now, and
oh wow, I
yeah,
would never have guessed.
well, it was early, but so he's 23, and so I have 2 younger girls. One is 10 and one is 4. They just turned 10 and 4. But anyway, he was 13 years and 13 days old when his sister was born. So he was essentially an only child for most of his life. And then he was 19 when my youngest was born. And I've always said this is like their relationship, they may not be 100%, same mom and dad, but to me, their relationship will outlast my life. Hopefully will outlast my life, dad's life, everybody. So they need to be connected. And that's what we do. Thankfully, our family, all of us support like whatever they want to do together, however they want to do it. And then we figure it out as the adults, if that makes sense.
I love that. Was the connection there from the beginning, or was it quiet?
Well, yeah, with the girls and everything, it was fine. Now I don't want to bore you with my story because I want to get into you, but real quick. So my son, with my son's dad, it was not good. The split was not good. He's, let's just say politely, a high rev personality.
Okay.
So it was not good at the beginning. When we separated and we went our separate ways, I really needed to just get oxygen flowing again. So that's what I did. We were exchanging, our son was just a baby then. So the baby was going back and forth and whatnot, but we had to go through courts. He wanted to go through court and do all of that stuff. Nightmare. For as hard as we didn't, I wouldn't say that we fought, but what is it? You go to court, it's almost like collateral damage. You sort of re-hurt each other in court is what happens, right? Because you're throwing out this and that and the other thing. Okay. So once we got the court order and that was in place, then we sort of followed it by the book. And then when our son joined T-ball, we were able to kind of have little conversation. Oh, he did so good. And then it was like that. And then slowly but surely, so this was maybe I want to say like 3 years later. So after that, it just kind of slowly moved forward. And that custody agreement we fought so hard for, out the window. We didn't even follow it after he was like 4, 5 years old. I mean, there was time, there were like my time, weekends, like you said, weekends and stuff like that, because of work schedules and all that. That was important to us. So we kept that. But anytime that our son called and wanted to go there, go here, whatever it was, even grandparents, those relationships are important.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. I'm glad. So now it's like that. And then with my daughter's father, nothing. It was like, this is just what makes sense. When I started dating him, I made that very clear. Like, I was very protective of what I had built already. And I was like, okay, whoever comes in, you have to respect that. And if it's too much, I get it. But if you can't, you got to go. And I think that's what led to our peaceful separation. And it's the same, like he'll, all the kids will go with him, or all the kids will go over here, or they just, like I said, they tell us what's best for them. They're always together and we figure it out. The parents, the adults figure it out.
No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and I love to hear that you guys do that as well, because I was
Yeah,
curious about how that worked, because I know the boys, I see your videos, and I see the boys
yeah.
in the car answering and like doing their boy stuff. And I'm like, I wonder how much time they all spend together. So
And I
that,
suppose with me, because Amari's older now, I wonder in my head how long the weekend routine will last on the
yeah,
basis that he's at that age where he wants to go off with his friends and
thank you for saying that.
yeah, where
Yeah,
he's already there's been a few weekends when he said, "Oh, Dad, can I come later?" or
yeah.
because I'm doing this or doing that. So yeah, it's a different phase now.
Yes, yes. And that's how it was with us too. And that's why I think co-parenting around the kids, instead of using like, I always tell people, I'm like, why would I ever have held my son to a schedule that I made when he was a baby? Like a
Mm,
baby with no voice, no interests, nothing. And yet he's basically locked into this thing for his entire life. It didn't make sense to me.
yeah,
Thankfully, his dad smartened up or whatever he did and got on the right track. But yeah, so it was the same thing. You see like these phases, like 0 to 6. I call it like there's the triad. So you start with 0 to 6, they have their kind of go with the flow, right? And then six to
yeah,
12, they start to kind of like break out, right? Their
yeah,
independence, they want to
yeah,
have say they might not want to even do anything on the weekend. They're like tired of the school and all that, because they think when school starts, right, it gets tricky. And then 12, then I say 12 to 18, whatever roots you've planted, the pruning that you've done from 6 to 12 really comes out, and you should give them the freedom to trust your parenting and give them
yes,
the freedom to spread their wings. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're sending this kid out into the world with what?
with no foundation.
With no
Yeah,
foundation. They don't know how to choose anything. Everybody's chosen it for them. So I love that you said that. Really, it's very touching to hear dad say that.
yeah. I'm just noticing it more now. And I mean, he's very protective of his brother, so I feel that because their bond is so tight, he's
Mhm,
always gonna wanna see his brother. So even if I collect Tyler on a Tuesday,
mhm,
um, I will always try and see if I can get Mari at the
mhm,
same time. However, it is one thing is key as well is having that individual time with them. And
mhm,
I feel even if they were two children from the same mother,
mhm.
that individual time is so important because they're different characters. They're each person. So
Mhm.
as a dad, it's important to take that time to bond with them on an individual level and allow them to feel connected. Because there's certain things Amari won't want to talk about in front of Tyler.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
13-year-old boy is going through a
Yes.
yeah.
Cover your ears, Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I get that as well, because like one-on-one time was really important. See, my son, it was just me and my son. So we were always, him and I, and doing stuff and going to the beach and taking vacations and adventures and things like that. So when his sister came along, then it was like all about his sister. And the first couple years, right, Aaron, it's tricky. It's like all
But
about this baby. It's very
yeah,
intense. So, but he's such a nice kid that he kind of went with the flow. He's just a go with the flow kind of guy.
yeah.
So that was that. And then the littlest one is the feistiest one. She could take, I swear, I could drop her off at college. She'd get a job, her own apartment, sign up for class. I'm telling you, this girl is unbelievable. So sometimes the other two get a little, not swallowed up, but they, kind of go into the shadows with her, because,
Yeah, she runs the show. Yeah,
yeah, she kind of does. But we all, that said, I love that I have the older ones to help with the little one. And they do. These kids love each other. So don't, that bond is so important, like you said. But I do take individual time. Like my 10-year-old says to me, she goes, Mom, on Saturday, can it just be us? We'll just go and just have a girls' day.
so
And
she asks for that.
yes, we
Okay.
do that. And I can do that. And co-parenting allows me to do that. I pick up the phone, I see this is what I need to do. Okay, no problem. I'll pick her up so and so time, right? So then
Yeah,
it's just me and her, and I can do that. And these are the things I think that people don't understand about great co-parenting, or maybe that's just not on the radar yet, is that once it's like that, once you have the open access, like you said, you want to pick up both boys, you pick up the phone, you make a phone call. And if
Yeah,
it works out or makes sense, then you do it. But you can't have that if you're in and out of court, because you're just hurting each other, like literally re-hurting each other in perpetuity.
it sounds like a divorce as well, like that kind of procedure. It sounds, it's something
Right?
I'd never want to do.
No.
Um, because I feel, I mean, I don't know exactly how that works, but the children are obviously caught up in that as well. So
Yeah.
I guess that can be really painful all around.
Yeah, I know that the energy does, it's infectious. Even if they don't say anything, kids can feel energy, and they're intuitive, and they can understand if a parent's upset, you know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what struggles do you have with co-parenting? Do you have any? Sounds like you don't. Like me, I'm
No,
there
no.
too, by the way. Aside from
Um,
like once in a while little spats, like maybe 10 times a year. Things are pretty good. But what are some like real struggles that are consistent that you have?
I would say communication, and I know that sounds crazy.
No, no, no. Yeah.
But again, having two different relationships, I'm co-parenting with two individual women,
Mm-hmm.
and in an ideal world, they would be identical personalities, identical everything.
Right.
Um, and it's not the case at all. So, for example, Amari's mum, she communicates completely differently to Tyler's mum, and the age plays a role. For
Yeah.
example, Amari had a mobile phone
Mm-hmm.
probably at the age of 7
Okay.
or 8, and that was on the basis that I don't need to communicate with his mum. She just wanted me, if I wanted to speak to Amari,
Okay.
um,
Right.
I can call Amari.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a fan of that, because sometimes I need to speak to you. As the mum, there's certain things we need to agree or discuss. So that relationship and that parenting style is very much see your child when you see your child. If there's anything urgent, I'll let you know, but otherwise we keep ourselves to ourselves.
Okay.
Whereas Tyler's mum is very much, if Tyler's had a bad day at school, I'll get a phone call. If Tyler's been upset, I'll get a phone call. There's so much more communication, which I love. But yeah, communication has been a struggle. There's certain things that I've wanted to know and haven't been informed of at times. Um, and not being frustrated by that is probably key. In my younger days,
Mm-hmm.
I was very frustrated if I wasn't communicated with properly, if I wanted to see my child but was told I couldn't because something else was going on. um, I get frustrated, and then that would lead to less communication and then more restrictions and
Mm-hmm.
barriers put in place. So I guess I've learned over the years to just almost let what will be.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I'm being the best that I can to both children,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the relationships with their mums will be of a good standard. But if not, then my role is to be the best dad I can be. I guess I've had a few conversations with friends sometimes where their main focus is to be great co-parents,
Mm-hmm.
when I feel that's a plus. If you can co-parent well together, that's a plus.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes two of you coming together.
Mm-hmm.
Your role as a dad only requires you. No matter what happens outside of that, that's your role. You can't blame anyone else for that. Be the best dad you can be.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that will then create a strong co-parenting relationship. But again, that depends on each individual.
That's very true. Yeah. And I think with anything in life, right? It's always boils down to the personality of the person that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah,
Because you've had more than one child, I should say. So
yeah,
you know that they are born how they are,
yeah,
right? From go. You can see the differences in personalities almost right from the beginning. I agree with you. I'm dealing with two different personalities as well. And, some things that, it's just working on how to say things. It's not that you can't do it if someone is not a good communicator. Again, there's a high rev personality. Even all these years later, my son's dad is still that way.
yeah,
Okay. But over the years, like you said, when are you getting gobsmacked by it at first, you're like, whoa, how do, and you just react. But then you learn, okay, this is not working. If you're smart, you learn this is not working. How do I do this? How can I do this? And how can I deal with it within the scope of what my skills are, or better my skills to deal with it. So
Yes.
that's what I've done. It's a lot of growth. I tell people, I'm like, when you talk to me, you're getting the culmination of everything I've been through, all the course, all the therapy, all no, just like,
The build up, yeah.
yes,
I
like Cliff
suppose
Notes.
I suppose another major thing that I've struggled with at times is relationships
Mhm.
in the
You mean
sense of
starting new relationships?
um not necessarily. I mean, people being around my children from, so for example, if Amari's mum was to get with a new partner,
Yeah.
um, and I was to, for example, when I've been in relationships, I've always been very much, let me get to know the person.
Mhm.
When I feel the time is right, I will let the mum know I'm thinking about bringing someone around the child. If there's anything you want to know beforehand,
Mhm.
I'm happy to disclose the information. We can talk, you can meet this person.
Mhm.
Um, and I've always felt that that should always come back if the
Mhm.
roles are reversed,
Yeah.
and it hasn't.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't. Um, and again, frustration can kick in because you're thinking, I'm showing you a level of respect here.
Mhm.
Why is that not coming back?
Mhm.
And you can easily then change your stance,
Mhm.
um, which I've refused to do. I'm very much, I feel like this is the right way to do it. So
Mhm.
regardless whether you do that or not, I'm going to continue to do this.
Thank
So there have been, I've found out information through my children about relationships that
you.
I hadn't been informed of. And I then find myself questioning my child because I can't get the information from the mum.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like that's a great position to be in because you want information, you feel you're entitled to information, just as the sense of who is he, what's he like, basic knowledge.
Basic things, yeah.
Yeah,
I say this, like you, just a couple of things. So an important thing that you just said is showing up. No one should determine how you show up in the world.
yeah,
Okay, flat out. So that's how I feel. Nobody gets to determine how I show up in the world because I know how my integrity is. I can put my head on the pillow at night. I am peaceful. I rest. I know, everything that's in here is good to go. So
yeah,
I show up as the best mom and person, right? Because your kids are going to see you in other ways, and person that I can be. And that's it. So if I get that back, that's great. Thankfully, my exes don't go out of their way to disrespect me. And I think, again, that's because I hold this place and I say, if you want to go some other way, then I'm going to go some other way. So your choice will be then affect my choice. And it won't ever get combative because I just refuse. But I still am very, confident in my decisions because I know have everybody's, not just the kids, but everybody's best interest at heart. I want to have a peaceful family. And when it comes to this relationship thing, it can get tricky. You feel like, I put it this way. If you were to take your kids to a new school to meet a new teacher, does your ex think that you wouldn't be there? You would, right? You would be there to meet the new teacher
yeah.
or a tutor or whatever it is. So, in my mind, I think it's the same law applies that this is a new person who is going to be an influencer in your child's life. Of course, their other parent should participate in meeting them, even if it's just
Yeah.
over coffee. It's not that hard. But
As long as they want to, as long as,
mhm.
because I guess some parents, I've got friends that are very much, I'm not interested in who my child's mum dates or anything like that, and they've got no interest in that. So a sit down would never happen because there's no interest in that.
What do you think about that, though? I mean, if the relationship goes somewhere and they get married or stay together 100 years, who cares about the marriage part of it?
Yeah,
But this is going to be somebody who's around your child, having hopefully a positive influence and contributing to their lives and making an impact and making memories for your child. So, I mean, I don't know. I would never drop my kid off at a babysitter that I didn't
never.
know, right?
Yeah,
So it's kind of, I don't know, I just always saw it as kind of the same thing. At least you want to meet that person. Like, we don't have to hang out, be best friends, but
yeah. I mean, well, Tyler's mom's married now,
Yeah.
so Tyler has a stepdad,
Mhm.
and
An
I think,
episode about that as well,
yeah,
which
yeah.
everyone listening, you should watch because it is so adorable. He talks to Tyler about his new stepdad and how things work. So go to YouTube and check that out. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But I feel we connected probably maybe 5 months after they started dating.
Mhm,
Um, and I mean, he's a cool guy, amazing guy. I'm happy that he's Tyler's stepdad.
mhm,
Um, and I'm glad that we had that. But there's also the fact that I feel he was coming from a place of understanding as well, because he has a child
mhm,
outside of
mhm,
his marriage now. So there was that level of understanding.
mhm,
Me, I would always, being with someone, I would always welcome to meet the child's dad and so on and so forth. I just feel there should be no animosity, there should be no fear. But I feel with males, there's an ego.
mhm,
There's very much an ego of if a man is coming around your child, you then develop this fear that the man is there to take over,
mhm.
rather than the man is actually there because of the woman. Hopefully, the man loves the woman, and therefore your child comes with that woman, and that love will trickle down to your child, and it's a good thing.
Right.
Um, but the male ego can be very, very damaging.
It can, and I'll say it's not, I don't think it's a male female thing. I think women are the same way, and
Okay.
I've seen it both ways. Right now, we have a healthy audience on the Co-Parenting Collective of
Yeah.
men, and I'm very proud of that. But the same token, it's a personality thing. I don't think it's a what you were born with down there thing. It's like women can be just as bad, like even worse. I could tell you stories all day. I won't,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it goes both ways, men and women. And it does take a healthy perspective to be part of a family that's what I call a family in progress, right? So,
Yes.
that's what you're joining. And a lot of people are so focused on the romance side of it that they end up resenting having to become a step parent or whatever. But that's
Yeah.
not how it should go at all. If it's not for you, it's okay, right? I mean, how many people are on the earth? There's like, I don't know, 7 billion, 8 billion, whatever, subtract kids. I don't know. But there's enough people on earth that you could just keep dating if that's not the life for you.
I mean, in terms of question your way now, in
Mhm.
terms of meeting a new partner, meeting your children, do you feel that there's a kind of like time frame for that, or do you feel it's an organic thing? How do you scale? How do you kind of judge that?
What I did personally is and I can say my kids were kind of like behind the velvet rope. They were
Okay,
like VIP. So absolutely nobody met, and I just say my son because that was the bulk of my dating, but nobody met him, like nobody, until I felt like I was ready. So literally his dad and I split when he was 5 months old. So the next relationship that I got into, he was 8, almost 9.
okay,
Yeah. And not, I mean, not for lack of being in the world. I almost what thought I wasn't going to get married and I was only going to have my son. And I was like fine with that and happy with that.
yeah,
And I concentrated on my career and work and building my business and things like that. And so I was, time passes when you're busy. And then in dating, I just really my son was off limits. And I tell this funny story where there was a guy who wanted to meet my son and he was driving me bonkers about it. And it got weird. And he's like, well, maybe next time you can bring your son. I'm like, I'm not bringing my son. And as a matter of fact, I'm not going anywhere with you again. So yeah, no, because it was weird to me. And it was like trying to rush and meet my son. I'm like, that's my goal. That's my treasure. You wouldn't just let somebody like give you a PIN number to your bank account. That's how I look at it. Like that's my kids. So I want to see what your nuts and bolts are about before I meet you. And then if it goes well, like with my daughter's dad, I was like, okay, after 6 months, he was like, do you want to, and he was really, again, the first time we sat down and talked, I had said to him, this is my life. And I just want to put that out there. So he already
Yeah.
knew. 6 months later, he was like, I don't know, do you think you want to, maybe go to the beach this weekend? And I was like, I don't know, I have my son. He said, do you think maybe he can go? And I said, I don't know. I'll think about it. So I thought about it. And then we ended up doing that. And I had to take into account my son's personality as well. He's a very
Yes.
low-key kid, doesn't like to be like cornered or anything like that, a very non-confrontational. So I had to think like, was this the right time for him? Would it be okay to, and the beach was actually perfect because it wasn't like sit down at a table and meet,
Yeah. Shake hands.
step
Yeah.
down. No, 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 it was super casual. Literally, it was funny. They actually played, they went and got shells in the water. They played, it was great. It was fantastic. So everything just came together well. That's my take. And I have heard and I know that sometimes things are, while the parents are separated, things are brewing. And then once the divorce is final, then they might move to the next phase. Or sometimes people, people fall in love faster than maybe I do, or, there's lots of different scenarios. I think if you just put your children and where they are, and definitely I would warn that for anyone listening, this isn't you, Erin, because you
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
take it out. But anyone listening, think about where your kid is emotionally and what style of person they are, and then try to figure out meetings around that, and definitely don't have your kids involved in some in some speed dating date-a-thon. Like they're actually not interested in that at all.
I definitely
They're protective of you too.
I definitely feel that there isn't a magical number in terms of, oh, it's been 6 months and
No,
now's the right time.
not a
Because
number.
I put a post on Instagram the other day and it said, is 3 months too soon for someone to meet your child? And probably like 80% of people said it's way too soon. And
I don't.
it just made me realize that, because my last relationship, I was with someone for 4 years
Mhm,
and they took a year to meet my children.
mhm,
Um, but the relationship didn't work out.
mhm.
And I feel that taking a year or however long is no guarantee that they'll even get along with your children.
Right,
And
right.
some people take the stance, and I kind of understand it. If you wait a year for someone to meet your child
Mhm,
and they do not click
mhm,
at all,
mhm.
that's potentially a year that you've wasted, because are you going to continue to see someone that just doesn't get along with your child?
Right. Well, some people do. You
So,
They do. And as a matter of fact, I just got a DM yesterday from a mom who they had written into their divorce decree somehow. I don't know how, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes people write crazy things, but I'm going, how would you even enforce that? So they had written in somehow that they were supposed to, both parents, if the if the ex met somebody, if either of them
yeah,
met somebody and we're going to introduce the kids, that the other part, the ex had to be there as well. And I'm like, how do you even force that? Like, she's, but she had said to me, she goes, well, he didn't. So what do I do? And I go, well, pray that this person is a great person and you'll
mm,
meet him when you meet him.
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna start lighting things on fire because you didn't have a 15-minute meeting with a stranger? And then you got to trust the other parent is trying to make those decisions
And that's
too.
what I was just about to say, is
Yeah,
having trust that your ex won't just bring anyone around your child,
right.
that they would have done their research and
Mhm.
taken time to get to know someone.
Do
But
the best you can to figure it out.
yeah, but when you have that maybe resentment because you broke up on bad terms or you're going through a divorce, you have this animosity towards that person already. So
Mhm.
you can easily forget why you fell in love with that person and the good traits that that person actually has,
Right.
because you're so focused on the divorce, or
Mhm.
potentially still hurting that individual, where there must have been good traits about that person in the first place in order for you to have a child together.
they picked me, so I mean, they picked you. I mean, it had to have, you know,
They've got some sense there, yeah.
yeah, there's some good taste somewhere. No, or I'm just an idiot. I don't know. I try to tell people not to focus on the number. Just don't focus on the number. Focus on the character of the people that you meet. Focus on being honest right from the get-go. Focus on not sabotaging your co-parenting.
Yes.
That's one thing. Like, you know, it'll be going great. I could thousands of stories going great, meet a new partner, not a good partner, completely unravels the entire thing. Like the new partner will come in and get very possessive and or sometimes jealous, and then start dictating how it should go. And why are you guys talking on a Tuesday when their visitation is on the weekend? Like
Yeah.
that. Like, bye.
Yeah.
Don't let the door
Yeah.
hit you in the ass.
But that's the thing. You've got to remember the relationship with your co-parent is potentially. I
Number
mean,
one.
hopefully the relationship with the
Yeah.
new partner will last and turn to marriage and so on and so forth. But the relationship with your child's other parent will last a lifetime.
Right.
Um, so there's always going to be that connection. So
Mhm.
it's just
Not
remembering.
only that, my relationship with my child is going to last my lifetime.
Yes.
So romance, we already figured this out, okay? And maybe they should teach it in school so everybody gets the memo. But romance comes and goes, right?
Yes.
You're not going to stay with the first boyfriend or girlfriend you ever were with. I mean, that's rare, far and few between. As a matter of fact, people are getting married less and, you know, co-parenting more. So
Divorce rates are going up. Yeah.
yeah, and not even just divorce, but just unmarried people are having children, and the world is changing and evolving, and like it does, like everything does. So I would never let somebody sabotage my relationship or the environment or the protections that I have in place for my kids to be healthy adults and be able to, instead of being weighed down by their, you know, an adverse childhood, I want them to be free to go out into the world and deal with whatever the world is going to throw at them, because we really have no idea at this point, right? How it's
Yeah.
going
No,
to be.
it's crazy out there. Yeah.
Yes, I know. So I want them to be able to adapt to that and not be stuck in a therapist's office because I did something wrong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We do the best we can. I know you have to go, Erin. I really would love to do a part 2 with you.
100%. I'm always
So
here.
we'll do it because I definitely have more questions and you're so smart and I wanted everybody to hear your wisdom. So thank you again
Thank you for
for
having
being.
me. I just want to say I love what you're doing. I love what
Thank
you stand for. The
thank
page is amazing. So
thank you.
yeah,
I'm
blessings.
trying to get the message out there. So it was wonderful talking to you. I really appreciate it.